It's Tuesday, the 24th of August, 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, then find more news and interviews in our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. In today's headlines, more than $7 billion in deals announced as the M&A activity in the energy sector escalates. Plus, Wall Street surges and oil and gold prices jump amid renewed optimism over the economic outlook. Prime Minister Scott Morrison calls on state premiers to stick to plans to open up economies, and cricketer Ian Botham reportedly to be the UK's envoy to Australia. Our lead story today, there were more than $7 billion in deals in the energy and infrastructure sectors yesterday, highlighting the massive changes going on in one of the most strategic parts of the economy. Spark Infrastructure agreed to sell to a consortium including private equity fund Kohlberg Kravis Roberts and the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund. The consortium will pay $2.95 a share. That's about a 25% premium to where Spark was trading before the bid. Infrastructure assets are all the rage at the moment. They provide long-term, steady income and often returns are regulated and linked to inflation. Ampol has bid for New Zealand fuel retailer Z Energy just as the last oil refiner in that country is set to close. The deal will allow Ampol to sell refined petrol into New Zealand and provide the group with a much larger scale as it transitions to a more environmentally friendly operation, a significant challenge for an oil and gas company. The energy sector is abuzz at the moment. Over recent weeks, Santos and Oil Search have agreed to a $22 billion merger, while Woodside will combine with BHP's petroleum division, creating a $40 billion oil and gas giant. The world is going green and companies are scrambling to remain competitive in the changing world. Yesterday's deals won't be the last in the sector. In overseas news, US equities hit record highs overnight after the US Food and Drug Administration granted full approval to the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine. It's the first vaccine to receive full approval for use in people over the age of 16, and that boosted sentiment about the economic recovery. The improved confidence in the US helped push oil prices sharply higher overnight. Brent crude was up more than 5%. The price of gold was also higher, with an ounce of the precious metal worth more than $1,800. Bitcoin breached $50,000 a unit yesterday for the first time since May. The digital currency has been steadily rising in recent weeks, up more than 50% over the past month. And China claims to have stopped COVID-19, including the Delta variant, announcing 0 new cases across the country. Over the past month, since the arrival of the variant, China has tested populations repeatedly, administering more than 100 million tests. It quarantined cities and cut off train and plane flights to hotspots. Extreme, but it worked. Locally, Prime Minister Scott Morrison is putting pressure on state premiers to support the National Cabinet plan to reopen the economy once vaccination rates hit 70%. He said that this Groundhog Day society many of us are living in had to end. The PM's comments came as the Doherty Institute last night said Australia could reopen safely with several hundred virus cases each day. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews said the national plan represented hope, but he was frustrated with data showing there'd been more than 50,000 unfilled vaccination appointments across the state, much of it due to hesitation around AstraZeneca. The debate continues as the cases across the country remain very high, with 818 infections and 3 deaths in New South Wales yesterday. In Victoria, there are 71 new COVID cases and there were 16 in the ACT. Around 30% of Australians are now fully vaccinated and almost 53% have had one jab. Yesterday, the Prime Minister said Australia's 1.2 million children aged between 12 and 15 years should be vaccinated by the end of the year. As many as 7,000 truckies and warehouse workers at Toll Transport will strike on Friday, the first national strike in road transport in more than a decade. The Transport Workers Union said employees will stop work after Toll refused to back down on its bargaining claims, including no pay parity for external hires and cutting overtime for part-timers, according to the Financial Review. Another 6,000 workers are set to vote on strike action at StarTrack and FedEx this week. The Prime Minister yesterday said Australia's 20-year presence in Afghanistan was worth it, despite the return of the Taliban and the chaos over the past fortnight, where foreigners and locals have been frantically trying to flee the capital, Kabul. Tens of thousands of Australian troops have served in the country, and the PM said rescue missions would continue for as long as possible. And finally, according to the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom, not necessarily the font of all wisdom, Sir Ian Botham, better known as Beefy Botham, has been appointed the UK's trade envoy to Australia. The cricketer, who is one of the great all-rounders, is a regular visitor to these shores, though I'm not sure if that gives him the prerequisites to be a trade envoy. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. Make sure you hit follow so you get it every morning and search for our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. We also release a daily interview. Today, we're looking at investing in infrastructure assets. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to fearandgreed.com.au. I'll be back later with the afternoon market report. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.